So in the past several years, the NBA All-Star game has been on a steady decline. I mean, even the NBA in general,
Mm.
product on the floor, for fans and for many reasons have expressed their displeasure in the game, whether it's load management or too many threes or not enough defense. Even though now the NBA has new TV deal
Yeah.
that they've basically inked and locked down for the next couple seasons, the next couple years actually. And then now the NBA and NBC is going to be returning.
Yeah.
So obviously, it sounds like the business is doing well, and the players have been prioritized. It's a players' league, player empowered league. But it sounds like the actual paying customer or the folks that's tuned in front of the TV, they don't see it that way.
Yeah.
So, we're all basketball fans. We all have our gripes with the game, the things we love about the game. So, what do you think are some ways to improve the game?
I mean, I think just like any business, the consumer gets the short end of the stick, right? So this whole thing of NBA splitting up which providers gonna have which games is just a terrible thing for the consumer. I don't want to have Amazon, TNT, and then Peacock and like 4 or 5 different streaming services just to watch variations of different games.
So for use the streaming.
I mean, that's part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. That cost is now pushed down to the consumer. So the consumer, it's an inconvenience, first of all. Then it's a cost associated to it as well. I want to go to one centralized location and watch all my games, or 1 or 2, but me having to go to 4 or 5 different streaming platforms to watch the games, I just think is a terrible thing for the consumer. From a business perspective, it makes sense. You know what I mean? You have 5 different people paying you a hefty amount of money, which you can see, say it benefits the business. But the consumer, we get the short end of the stick, just like everything in life.
Okay. So for you, it's the streaming.
Yeah,
It's
I think the
side.
streaming is probably the biggest part of it. From a basketball perspective, I don't mind the 3-point shots. That's part of the game. You gotta learn how to stop it. I can't tell somebody, hey, you can't shoot from back there because I can't guard you. That's your problem. You figure it out. The game is evolving. Back in the day, it was a big man game. But now you gotta be able to be versatile. You got KD that's able to shoot the 3. You got big guys that can shoot the 3. You gotta be able to guard it.
But see, it's so easy for you to say you got to be able to guard it. But I think now, when the league has changed the rules so much to where people can't play physical defense anymore, how do you stop it? How do you counter it when you're not allowed to play the defense that's necessary to be able to stop it? Where now, when people set picks and things like that, some of the picks you see set used to be, they would call it a moving screen.
Yeah.
Now they're allowing them to get away with that, and I think it's because they've changed the rules so much to favor the offensive side, where it's like there's really no way to stop it. I feel like if you're not giving balance to both sides of the floor, then you can't tell the other side, well, they just need to learn how to stop it. But if you got us handcuffed, we can't stop it.
So you want Jordan rules back?
I would say you got to go back to Jordan rules.
That's what you had. That's what
you got to go back to the Pistons. No, that's the 80s though. That's different.
Yeah.
But I think the league was in a good place on the offensive and defensive side. At its peak was probably 2016. You had a good mix of new age offense where you're seeing these fast, quick hitting actions on offense, and the defense was still allowed. Yes, no hand checking. Hand check's been outlawed in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But the defense was not handcuffed like they are today.
Yeah.
The game was still played inside out a little bit. It wasn't super perimeter oriented. It was a good balanced mix of everything. You had teams that had identity, teams that played more of a mid-range game. Some teams played more on a perimeter, and that was fine. But today, I think it's just gone so far to the point of it's just a 3-point shootout now. It looks like a Harlem Globetrotter type game. And, the commissioner's like, well, we want to showcase the players' skills more. But now you got a lot of people saying, well, we want to see some defense too.
I agree.
It's not like it's a small niche fan base that are saying defense. It's a lot of people saying they don't tune into the games anymore because it's not a balanced game. It's just one style. It's just as soon as you get cross half court, okay, I'm just looking for the best 3-point shot. There's no more good shot selection.
Even if they allow more defense, do you think the majority of the players will actually play defense? Do you feel like the players have gotten lazier where it's almost like they almost play to protect the players? You know what I mean? They don't want.
But the defense isn't the thing that they're scared of. I think it's maybe now when you're talking about maybe driving into the paint and having stronger defenses inside the paint, and players colliding, they may be worried about that. But as far at least allow them to play more strong defense on the perimeter. That way they can slow down some of the threes. You won't have these 150-point games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, the inside defense is a little different. I mean, me as a fan, I would love to see them get rid of like the 3-second in the key. I would love for them to get rid of key lane violations altogether, because when you have all of those key rules, those rules right there for 3-second in the key, I can deal with the 5-second back to the basket, but the 3-second in the key, you literally don't allow the big man to exist.
Yeah.
I literally only had 3 seconds to stay in the lane, then I got to move out.
Mm-hmm. It keeps you moving.
It's wide open lane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going back to what you were saying, I mean, you have to. You said, will the players actually play defense if they allow it? Yes, they did that last year in the Timberwolves series.
Mm-hmm.
With who did they play? Was it the Nuggets? But they allowed them to play aggressive defense, and it was a good game. You know, so it's your thing is the TV ratings. My thing is the actual product on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. Your thing is the TV, the streaming.
Streaming
Some people feel like they don't have access to the games.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's isn't about the access. Mine's it's a poor product on the floor, and there's no way you can tell me that it's a good product. Like, just use the eye test. It's a poor product. Everybody plays the same. You know, there's no more crashing the boards for rebounds. There's no battles under the basket. There's no more rivalries. Name me one rivalry right now.
Yeah,
There's no rivalry.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing to me. It's like, I don't know who don't like who. I don't know where the rivalries are. Like, used to have those games where it's like, oh, this team playing that team. It's about to be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we know they don't like each other. Now,
Yeah.
you know, everybody likes each other. Everybody's friends.
Mid-court,
Yeah, it's like, it's way too friendly. It's like, you don't see that kind of dog aspect,
No.
you know, that you're kind of used to seeing, where it's like, oh, nah, I'm not going to let them beat us. You know,
Right.
You get that in football still. You still
Yeah.
have rivalries. You
Oh,
still
yeah.
have things with, that type of
Because
thing.
in football, it's not about the players, it's about the shield.
Yeah, it's about the team. Yeah, it's about the team. And the NBA is about the players. And so it's just hard to see. You know, it's like you have teams come up and it's like, okay, all right, cool. OKC's good this year. They look like they should be one of the best teams in the league. That's cool, but they don't have a rival.
No.
So how you
know
put
what
that
I'm
mentality back in players? Like, there's some players you can see, like Jimmy. You know, Jimmy got that aggressiveness, that dog,
Yeah,
in it. But how do you implant that into
I don't
an
think
entire
you can.
team?
Well, I think what it is, I think the NBA, they failed on this a long time ago, because even some of the old vets back then, they said that they noticed that the NBA was not keeping vets around long. They said you got to keep vets around in the league, because that's how they pass the torch for the next generation. They teach them the proper way to how to play.
Yeah.
When you try to go to a more younger league and try to, like, you know, you have less vets around and it's a mostly younger league.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they learning from? They're just learning from each other. They're literally looking to the sides of each other and learning from each other. They're not looking up to the Kevin Garnett's or the Tim Duncans of the world. They're looking next to their peer. That's not who they should be learning from. They should be learning from the vets. So I think that's one of the big mistakes that the league made 10 plus years ago, is not making sure that they keep their vets around. I always felt like they should have instituted in the league a player liaison roster spot. And what I mean by that is you have 2 extra spots on your roster.
Mm-hmm.
These players don't have to actually play on the floor, but they need to be on that bench. Whether you keep a Kevin Garnett around,
So you
or
have to
you
be a
down
certain age. Your senior citizen spot.
Yes. But these guys would just be more responsible for in practice, or teaching these players how to carry themselves in the media and stuff like that. Because the coaching staff can only do but so much. They can't hold these players' hands. But these player liaisons are going to go to the hotel with the rest of the roster and teach them the proper way how to act in the hotel, or how to be more professional.
Can we get Gilbert Arenas from the Wizards?
No, man. I don't think he'd be the best.
Him and
Basketball wise, yeah. But as
If we
far
get
as like
Gilbert
you're
and
talking
Nick
about as growing as far as a mature, like, young man, no. There's a reason why he wasn't considered the captain of the Wizards. And it was always Anton
Shoot
Jameson.
him up, Gilbert.
You know. So yeah, so I think I feel like they should institute something like, they got to keep the vets around, but it's too late. I feel like it's too late, far too late now. A lot of the old guard is gone now. What's it? The last people of that ilk is what? KD, LeBron, Steph, Jimmy Butler, maybe Dame Lillard. It's not many of them left. Chris Paul. It's not a many. I feel like once those guys are retired, we're into the new era, and I think a lot of those old ways are going to be gone.
I mean, in terms of rivalries, I definitely think that it's dead. I think it's because
dead.
of AAU. Like a lot of these guys have been playing together since they was kids. They don't got beef. Like unless they had beef like growing up,
You're right.
they're not gonna have beef in the league because they
know each
the
other.
They never looked at it like I want to beat him.
exactly.
It was like, oh no, we play together.
I think at sometimes they do, but a lot of times it's like you end up training with these guys in the off season. You end up like you're working your way up. Your rivals aren't rivals anymore. They're more peers. You know, you're making money, you know, in college now. You're making money in high school. And you know,
So it's almost like we're business partners.
It's business now. Yeah.
It's just
and it's
business
like,
now.
you know, you just become, you get those more familiar, you know, relationships. So,
Right.
yeah, I think that, you know, in terms of the rivalries and it being like it used to be, I think maybe college you'll get that some.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the league, all these guys who make it to the league have been friends for 10 years. You know?
Question off of that: do you think basketball is turning into a rich man sport? And the reason I say this,
For
like
sure.
you said,
Yes.
like
yes.
you said,
yes.
you got in order to get to these high ranking schools and stuff, you got to play AAU.
Mhm.
AAU is not cheap.
Nope.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you got games and you got fly
That's
here.
where all the scouts are going.
You know, you got to pay for X, Y, and Z. This is
Yeah.
not. Most of these players have trainers.
Yeah.
This is no longer.
I mean, look at a lot of these kids. You seeing all these NBA player kids come into the league now because they have the best advantages,
Yes.
right? Of course, they're going to probably be
Their fathers
physically
played.
gifted,
Yeah.
but then they have access to trainers since they're kids. You know what I'm saying? Like when you watch like Gilbert's son, who's about to be, I think he's going to college this year.
Yeah.
Elijah Arenas. When you look at his workout, you know that his father does with him every day. Most parents don't have the ability to do that with their kid. Like it's not Elijah's fault.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But you have to look at it and be like, yo, these kids are coming to the league or coming to college with like polished games.
Yep.
Whereas back in the day, at least in our time, you know, these kids were going to college with athleticism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe knew a little bit of basketball. Now these kids have been training every day for the past 10 years.
They got the equipment in the
You
house.
know what I'm saying? Yeah. Since they
got
were
a cryotherapy.
since they were 8
chamber
years
in the
old.
house.
The
Yeah.
nutritionist.
They got a
All that.
shooting expert. They got a drop. You know,
Yeah.
they watching film.
Getting
you know, they're doing
stem
all
cells in their knees and stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely basketball is definitely becoming a rich man's game for sure. Like, of course, at the end of the day, you know, elite athleticism, elite talent will still trump anything. But at the end of the day, like, you can learn how to play basketball. You can learn skills. That's why the game is more skilled now, because they're learning these step back, dribble, tween, all this stuff, you know, when they're kids. You know, it's like even if you watch that Kai Cenat thing where he was like being funny and he had them little kids playing basketball. Them little kids was good. Like they hitting threes and step backs and doing all this stuff. Like they hitting, like these is little kids. These elementary school kids. So I think that the skills in basketball has gotten better in terms of scoring. You know, to Joe's point, maybe not to defense as much, but at scoring for sure. And, you know, they know each other for such a long time. I just think that, you know, it's just going to be a different type of game. And I think you need a little bit of WWE in that thing to kind of get it, you know, to back
Some
to where it needs to be.
storylines.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need some
we need some
storylines. You need
storylines.
some hate. You need some
Yeah.
people to beef. You need someone to
Yeah.
say something about somebody else.
Right.
I mean, it seems like now we just need people to sleep with each other's girls, because that's like the only, you know, they all sharing
be some
anyway.
real stuff
yeah,
off the
I mean,
court.
yeah, that's what we need, because the only way it's going, you know, ain't gonna be no beef other way. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, or any type, you know, of course the playoffs come, things start getting, you know, things get better.
Yeah, the playoffs, but you
Yeah.
need the regular season. You talking about 82 games.
Yeah.
You need that to matter too. You know,
Facts.
when we were younger, you used to tune in on ESPN or something when you saw a West Coast matchup. It might have been the Lakers versus the Rockets, T-Mac versus Kobe, and a lot of times they came in with storylines. They said it's the Lakers versus the Houston Rockets. Last time these guys matched up, it was down to the wire, and Kobe got who's going to get the best of them this time. It's the Lakers and the Rockets here on ESPN tonight. You know, like I try to do my best to, you know, but I'm saying it was excitement. It got you riled up for it and whatnot. It created. They had storylines. NBA on NBC. You go back and look at some of the old presentation. There's storylines for all those matchups.
Larry Bird.
You know, you had those storylines even in the 90s. You know, you had maybe 3 matchups on NBA on NBC on Sunday. You had Sunday football, obviously, but then, I mean, I'm a bigger basketball nut, so I was always looking forward to those NBA matchups on Sunday. And it wasn't always the top tier team. Sometimes it may just be a middle of the pack team, or playoffs was getting ready to come. So it might be Orlando Magic when they had Shaq versus Allen Iverson in the 76ers. And they have a storyline around that. Like, who's going to get the best of who tonight? You know, and it created that excitement, even if those two teams didn't have a rivalry necessary. But then when there was a rivalry, I mean, we can count how many rivals there were in the 90s. I mean, you had the Bulls and Knicks, Bulls and Pacers, Pacers, Knicks, Lakers and maybe Lakers and Rockets. Any of those West Coast matchups. You had Knicks and Heat, Heat and Pacers. You had all of these rivalries, and
Bulls
I feel like
in Detroit.
the Bulls and the Pistons. But I feel like as the 2000s have progressed, those rivalries have just been falling off. Like the last real rivalry I remember the Wizards having was against the Celtics in the 2016, 2017 season.
With
I
the
was
whole
about to say
wearing
Cleveland.
all black and all
Yeah,
that.
even
Yeah.
in the regular season. I'm not talking about
Yeah,
the
they-
playoffs. We was like, yeah, I want them.
I thought that Cleveland series was a little bit worse when
With the
LeBron was
Soulja Boy.
whispering, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about
But
where
still,
I
it was
really
something.
remember it. That was back in like 06. I'm talking about like the peak of it was like 2016, 2017.
wearing all black to the stadium because you're saying
Yeah.
it's a funeral
on a
Like,
regular
yeah.
season
The
night.
whole
And we
team
look
doing
forward
that.
to that. Like, yo, they was like, we don't like them.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing. I know we're in a different society today, but I'm like, sports is a place where it's like, it's escapism from reality. And it's not about saying, hey, we want these guys to hate each other personally. No, I hate you as an opponent.
Right.
I want to cut your head off on this court. That's how we were raised to play, whether it was on the blacktop or how we view sports. There's no friends or no buddy on the court
I
or
think
on
Jay
the
hit
field.
on that when he said that WWE mentality. You need a little story mode in
Need a
there,
little something.
bit.
Yeah,
just to
something.
give it a little
Like I don't need them to fight and all
Yeah,
that,
I'm not-
but
I
I
don't
need
need
you to
all that.
I need you to want to feel like you're the best player on
Yeah.
the court. And I don't feel like nowadays these guys want to be the best player on the court. They just want to make that money.
Yeah, they
Which is fine. I ain't mad at you, but it felt better when Jordan was like, I'm the best. I'm better than all of you, and I'm going to tell you that
Right.
while I'm playing you. You know what I'm saying? Even Bird, they talk about how they talk trash and stuff. You know what I'm saying? KG, legendary shit talker.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they don't have that no more. Like
No.
I mean, they talk, but
It's a couple guys like
Yeah,
Anthony
yeah.
Edwards and stuff.
But it's all
and-
laughs. You know what I'm saying? It's all like hee hee. It's like, oh, ha ha ha. You said, it's like, it's like you don't really think nobody gonna fight unless it's Draymond. Like Draymond, the only one won't fight out here. Like you
love
don't.
a fight.
Yeah, Draymond love a fight. But-
He old school though. you
I
know?
mean, but he's a little different. But
Yeah.
at least back in the day, people, you get to bumping a little bit. And it's gonna be some, how you play in the paint
Right.
and don't want to fight somebody. Like it's
Right,
crazy.
right. He's a grown man at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and whatnot. But going back to it, like I said, those are my reasons why I feel like the product as a whole is kind of is just poor. It's a lot of the on the court stuff. Yeah, we can talk about the business stuff and say, well, when they made it a player in the Power League, we all thought, oh, great, the players, you want to see them make their money, but at the cost as a consumer, when you get a worse product on the floor. Where,
So you think the move is for them to get less money?
no, I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to say less money, but maybe more things and contracts based on performance.
Incentives to
Yeah, because I mean, the low management has gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
It's really out of hand. If think about it, if we was in the 90s and Joel Embiid, I get it. He's had injuries, but you don't think he would try to like muster up the courage, like, man, I gotta get my contract, like I gotta make my money. Like the guys were making $50 million a season, so he's just like, okay, I'll just heal whenever I heal. But a lot of guys, they were making way less money, and they also wanted to prove themselves, so they had the motivation to get back on the court. Now, and also if you told players, hey, you can only miss X amount of games for this particular injury. Now, after that, we're just going to dock your pay. You don't think that they would be suiting up?
You think that would resolve the Zion
I think
situation
so.
too?
I think so.
Him putting the spoon down or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, because then you would be forced to keep yourself in shape.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a severe injury, obviously that's different. But if it's something where it's like, hey, we only going to give you 10 days worth of pay for that. Just like if you go to your job, you only have so much sick leave, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You're talking about athletics and injury,
Right.
but it's got to be some limit.
So
It has
basically,
to be.
you have an ACL injury, you get 60 days.
That's
or-
different. That's a major injury.
So what I'm saying,
But
are you saying the injury, the time?
Because guys
away
are
should
talking
be
about, I
based
got
off the
ankle
injury?
soreness. I got ankle soreness.
Yeah.
You can say that any day just because I don't feel like playing.
Yeah.
I got knee soreness.
Mm-hmm.
They can't actually tell if you got. They can maybe say it's inflamed a little bit, but if you
I
say,
think-
hey,
I think some of that though has something to do with the 82 game season. You know what I'm saying? It's a long season. The games don't. I don't want to say they don't matter, but they don't matter that much.
But it's been 82 games since the beginning.
Yeah. But I just, it's just like now it's like everybody's worried about the playoffs, trying to win that championship. So it's like I'd rather keep my guys healthy now, so that we're ready for the playoffs.
And at the cost of the consumer.
That-
Do
facts,
you think the end game is helping or hurting though? The tournament.
I guess the in game. See, I wish that I don't mind the tournament, but I just wish it was a real tournament.
Yeah.
It's not a real
It's
tournament.
not a real tournament. It's like a game once a week that you play and change the court for. Like, no, I wish it was like we're going, like East, like different conferences go to one city, they play the tournament, so you can build those rivalries. That's how you
Right.
build rivalries.
Right.
In my opinion, that's how you would really build a rivalries, is to actually have them competing day after day in the same situation. Not, this Friday it's a tournament. Then the next
On and
Friday
off,
it's
on
a
and off.
tournament.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
but
it's not a real
but Monday,
tournament. It's not a real
Tuesday,
tournament.
Wednesday, we played other teams that has nothing to do with the tournament. And then there's another.
I like your
That's the
idea.
part. I like the
your
idea.
Yeah.
I wish they should stop the season,
Uh-huh.
have a tournament, see who wins. And I think that would help actually build some rivalry, because when you playing for that $1 million and you reach a team that maybe puts you down, now you got a little bit more beef, or a little bit more. Oh, now we gonna mess with them because I could hear them celebrating when they won that $1 million.
Right.
We about to go get them next week. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like that would build more. And I think I always thought this was for a big three, and I think that that new women's league actually implemented. They have a 303 women's league. They've been doing.
Yeah, I heard about that.
But one-on-ones.
I like the one-on-ones.
One-on-ones. I've been saying this. I thought the
Yeah.
big three would have been
Problem
introduced
is the
one-on-ones.
Stars don't want to do it. They
Nah,
too proud.
I mean, I think it should be.
They worried about
I
getting
think,
shown
I
up.
think you should be able to call somebody out and be like, "Nah, clear the court one-on-one."
The female one-on-ones were nice to see.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Or
basically
at least
saying,
for
like, if I
All-Star.
call you
At least for
out,
All-Star.
and if you don't accept it, then that shows that you don't really want that work.
Yeah,
Then.
nah, I don't think you should be able to decline it. You on the court? I call you out for a one-on-one. Clear out.
So you saying throw that for All Star?
Now, I mean, at least All-Star. I know they're gonna do that for the NBA, but
Yeah.
like All-Star, that'd be tight.
That would be
Like
tight.
that'd be cool for
KD
to help
versus
All-Star out.
LeBron or something
Yeah,
like that.
but like
LeBron ain't
sometimes
gonna want to do it.
those would be the best in the playoffs when it's like Kobe going against I don't know the Blazers and what was his name, Ruben Patterson, the
Ruben
Kobe
Patterson.
stopper.
The so-called
they
stopper.
ain't never stopped Kobe.
Yeah, I don't know where they got that from because I don't remember him stopping Kobe.
I don't know. Maybe
Maybe he contained him.
I
but
think he might have had one good regular
good
season game.
Yeah.
But so it's like, but then it would be like, no, Kobe's getting the ball and he's going to guard him, and you knew what was going to happen. It would be like a one-on-one without it being a one-on-one.
Right.
It's like, Kobe's getting the ball. Can you stop him?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really get those moments that too
No,
much.
those isolation moments where it's
yeah.
like, oh, okay, all right, he's going.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's not, oh, hey, run the screen so Kobe gets the weakest guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, Kobe's like, I want.
Yeah.
You want to stop me?
Clear
Okay,
out,
cool.
clear out.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another thing about it as far as the product on the floor. It's more of a passive game to me today than it is before. Now players don't want to, whatever defense is there, they're no longer playing through the defense. They're passively playing around defenses.
They
That's
wanna
why you
get
see everybody
posterized.
setting screens. I'm literally getting a bailout from the defense all the time. I get it. Back then, the Utah Jazz, they used a lot of pick and roll and stuff. But now everybody's doing it because it's like now I don't need to play. I'm not attacking the defense. I'm passively playing around the defense. It's more of a game of exploits today. Whether it's the flopping, whether it's what else? Throwing themselves into the defensive player.
Yeah.
It's more of an exploitive. They're exploiting the game, exploiting the rules today.
And the players are doing that on purpose too. Like
Yes.
James Harden literally tries, for a long time was trying to figure out the rules so he could skirt him, and that's why now they talk about a gather step. And I play basketball growing up. No one ever told me anything about a gather.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But because he did the whole push, step back while he's shooting the three, they had to figure out, okay, is this? Oh, well, technically it's within the rules. So now we have to hear about this gather step, which back in the day you didn't hear that. That was travel.
And
Right.
to your point, even in the All-Star game, Chris Paul, of course, of all people, he's exploiting the rules, even in the
skills challenge.
The skills challenge.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, well, we don't have to shoot the ball. We just have to throw all three of them up. Throw them up in the air.
Yeah.
I was like, come
But you
on,
get
man.
it's a cheap show now.
And that's the perfect example how he's exploiting the rules, but at the expense of the viewership, right? Viewers, nobody want to watch this.
But that's a good example because it happens on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
But it's also the league's responsibility to counter those exploits
For sure.
and say, oh, they're starting to throw their legs into the defensive player on and they'll change the rules for a couple games, and then they'll like cave in again. I'm like, that's where it messes up. Like, you're the league. You're supposed to set the tempo. You're supposed to set the standard in the league. You can't allow the players to set the standard. And if they whine and complain, so what? They'll adjust to it. You know, people are worried about, well, maybe they won't get 50-point games and what. You gotta let it just go through its growing pains. But if you're just gonna allow the players to dictate everything, the product is just gonna continue to get worse. That's my opinion. You know, it's hard. I don't even watch full games anymore. It's hard.